Chapters 10 and 11 of Book 1 of Les Misérables, Volume 3, by Victor Hugo. This is a LibriVox recording. All LibriVox recordings are in the public domain. For more information or to volunteer, please visit LibriVox.org. Recording by Adam Ringeth. Les Misérables, Volume 3, by Victor Hugo. Translated by Isabel, Florence, HAPGOOD. Book 1st. Paris studied in its atom. Chapter 10. Ecce Paris, ecce homo. To sum it all up once more, the Paris gamin of today, like the Græculus of Rome in days gone by, is the infant populace with the wrinkle of the old world on his brow. The gamin is a grace to the nation, and at the same time a disease. A disease which must be cured how? By light. Light renders healthy. Light kindles. All generous social irradiations spring from science, letters, arts, education. Make men. Make men. Give them light that they may warm you. Sooner or later, the splendid question of universal education will present itself with the irresistible authority of the absolute truth. And then, those who govern under the superintendence of the French idea will have to make this choice: the children of France or the gamins of Paris, flames in the light or will-o'-the-wisps in the gloom. The gamin expresses Paris, and Paris expresses the world. For Paris is a total. Paris is the ceiling of the human race. The whole of this prodigious city is a foreshortening of dead manners and living manners. He who sees Paris thinks he sees the bottom of all history, with heaven and constellations in the intervals. Paris has a capital, the town hall, a Parthenon, Notre Dame, a Mount Aventine, the Faubourg Saint-Antoine, an Asinarium, the Sorbonne, a Pantheon, the Pantheon, a Via Sacra, the Boulevard des Italiens, a Temple of the Winds, opinion, and it replaces the Gemoniae by ridicule. Its Majo is called Férode. Its transvestirin is the man of the faubourgs. Its Hamal is the market porter. Its Lazarone is the pègre. Its Cockney is the native of Ghent. Everything that exists elsewhere exists at Paris. The fish-woman of Dumarsais can retort on the herb-seller of Euripides. The disco-balls Vejanus lives again in the Forioso, the tightrope dancer. Theropontogonus Miles could walk arm in arm with Vaudeboncourt the grenadier. Damasippus, the second-hand dealer, would be happy among bric-a-brac merchants. Vincennes could grasp Socrates in its fist as just as Agora could imprison Diderot. Grimaud de la Reynière discovered larded roast beef as Curtillus invented roast hedgehog. We see the trapeze which figures in Plautus reappear under the vault of the Arc of l'Étoile. The sword-eater of Poicolus encountered by Opulius is a sword-swallower on the Pont Neuf. The nephew of Rameau and Curculio the parasite make a pair. Ergasilus could get himself presented to Cambyses by Dagrafé. The four dandies of Rome, Alcasimarchus, Phodromus, Diabolus, and Argyrippus, descend from Courtille in Labatut's posting chaise. Aulus Gellius would halt no longer in front of Congrio than would Charles Nodier in front of Puccinello. Marto is not a tigress, but Pardalisca was not a dragon. Pantolabus the wag jeers in the Café Anglais at Nomentanus the fast liver. Hermogenes is a tenor in the Champs-Élysées, and round him Thracius the beggar, clad like Bobetche, takes up a collection. The boor who stops you by the button of your coat in the Tuileries makes you repeat after a lapse of 2,000 years Thesprion's apostrophe. Quis properantem me prehendit Palio. The wine on Cyrene is a parody of the wine of Alba. The red border of Dessaugiers forms a balance to the great cutting of Balatro. Père Lachaise exhales beneath nocturnal rains some gleams at the Escoliae, and the grave of the poor bought for 5 years is certainly the equivalent of the slave's hived coffin. Seek something that Paris has not. The vat of Trophonius contains nothing that is not in Mesmer's tub. Ergaphilas lives again in Cagliostro. The Brahmin Vesiphanta becomes incarnate in the Comte de Saint-Germain. The cemetery of Saint Médard works quite as good miracles as the mosque of Umumi at Damascus. Paris has an Aesop, Mayeux, and a Canidia, Mademoiselle Lenormand. It is terrified, like Delphos, at the fulgurating realities of the vision. It makes tables turn as Dodona did tripods. It places the grisette on the throne, as Rome placed the courtesan there. And, taking it all together, if Louis XV is worse than Claudian, Madame du Barry is better than Messalina. Paris combines in an unprecedented type, which has existed and which we have elbowed, Grecian nudity, the Hebraic ulcer, and the Gascon pun. It mingles Diogenes, Job, and Jack Pudding, dresses up a spectre in old numbers of the Constitutional, and makes Chodruc Duclos. Although Plutarch says the tyrant never grows old, Rome, under Sylla as under Domitian, resigned itself and willingly put water in its wine. The Tiber was a Lethe, if the rather doctrinary eulogium made of it by Verus Fibiscus is to be credited. Contra Gracchus Tiberim habemus, bibere Tiberim, id est seditionem oblivisci. Paris drinks 1,000,000 liters of water a day, but that does not prevent it from occasionally beating the general alarm and ringing the tocsin. With that exception, Paris is amiable. It accepts everything royally. It's not too particular about its Venus. Its Callipyge is Hottentot. Provided that it is made to laugh, it condones. Ugliness cheers it. Deformity provokes it to laughter. Vice diverts it. Be eccentric, and you may be an eccentric. Even hypocrisy, that supreme cynicism, does not disgust it. It is so literary that it does not hold its nose before Basile, and is no more scandalized by the prayer of Tartuffe than Horace was repelled by the hiccup of Priapus. No trait of the universal face is lacking in the profile of Paris. The bal mobile is not the Polymnia dance of the Janiculum, but the dealer in ladies' wearing apparel there devours the lorette with her eyes, exactly as the Procuress Staphyla lay in wait for the virgin Planesium. The Barrière du Combat is not the Colosseum, but people are as ferocious there as though Caesar were looking on. The Syrian hostess has more grace than Mother Saguet, but, if Virgil haunted the Roman wine-shop, David d'Angers, Balzac, and Charlet have sat at the tables of Parisian taverns. Paris reigns. Geniuses flash forth there. The red-tails prosper there. Adonai passes on his chariot with its 12 wheels of thunder and lightning. Silenus makes his entry there on his ass, for Silenus read Ramponneau. Paris is the synonym of Cosmos. Paris is Athens, Sybaris, Jerusalem, Pontin. All civilizations are there in an abridged form. All barbarisms also. Paris would greatly regret it if it had not a guillotine. A little of the Place de Grève is a good thing. What would all that eternal festival be without this seasoning? Our laws are wisely provided, and thanks to them, the blade drips on this Shrove Tuesday. Chapter 11. To scoff, to reign. There's no limit to Paris. No city has had that domination which sometimes derides those whom it subjugates. To please you, O Athenians, exclaimed Alexander. Paris makes more than the law, it makes the fashion. Paris sets more than the fashion, it sets the routine. Paris may be stupid if it sees fit. It sometimes allows itself this luxury. Then the universe is stupid in company with it. Then Paris awakes, rubs its eyes, says, "How stupid I am," and bursts out laughing in the face of the human race. What a marvel is such a city! It is a strange thing that this grandioseness and this burlesque should be amicable neighbors, that all this majesty should not be thrown into disorder by all this parody, and that the same mouth can today blow into the trump of the judgment day, and tomorrow into the reed flute. Paris has a sovereign joviality. Its gaiety is of the thunder, and its farce holds a scepter. Its tempest sometimes proceeds from a grimace. Its explosions, its days, its masterpieces, its prodigies, its epics, go forth to the bounds of the universe, and so also do its cock and bull stories. Its laugh is the mouth of a volcano which spatters the whole earth. Its jests are sparks. It imposes its caricatures as well as its ideal on people. The highest monuments of human civilization accept its ironies and lend their eternity to its mischievous pranks. It is superb. It has a prodigious 14th of July, which delivers the globe. It forces all nations to take the oath of tennis. Its night of the 4th of August dissolves in 3 hours 1,000 years of feudalism. It makes of its logic the muscle of unanimous will. It multiplies itself under all sorts of forms of the sublime. It fills with its light Washington, Kosciuszko, Bolivar, Bozzaris, Riego, Bem, Manin, Lopez, John Brown, Garibaldi. It is everywhere where the future is being lighted up. At Boston in 1779, at the Ile de Leon in 1820, at Pest in 1848, at Palermo in 1860. It whispers the mighty countersign, Liberty, in the ear of the American abolitionists grouped about the boat at Harper's Ferry, and in the ear of the patriots of Ancona assembled in the shadow. To the art-chai before the Gauzy Inn on the seashore. It creates Canary. It creates Quiroga. It creates Pisacan. It irradiates the great on earth. It was while proceeding whither its breath urged them that Byron perished at Missolonghi and that Mazet died at Barcelona. It is the tribune under the feet of Mirabeau and a crater under the feet of Robespierre. Its books, its theatre, its art, its science, its literature, its philosophy are the manuals of the human race. It has Pascal, Regnier, Corneille, Descartes, Jean-Jacques, Voltaire for all moments, Molière for all centuries. It makes its language to be talked by the universal mouth, and that language becomes the word. It constructs in all minds the idea of progress. The liberating dogmas which it forges are for the generation's trusty friends, and it is with the soul of its thinkers and its poets that all heroes of all nations have been made since 1789. This does not prevent vagabondism, and that enormous genius which is called Paris, while transfiguring the world by its light, sketches in charcoal Bouginier's nose on the wall of the Temple of Theseus, and writes Crédville the thief on the pyramids. Paris is always showing its teeth. When it is not scolding, it is laughing. Such is Paris. The smoke of its roofs forms the ideas of the universe. A heap of mud and stone, if you will, but, above all, a moral being. It is more than great. It is immense. Why? Because it is daring. To dare, that is the price of progress. All sublime conquests are, more or less, the prizes of daring. In order that the revolution should take place, It does not suffice that Montesquieu should foresee it, that Diderot should preach it, that Beaumarchais should announce it, that Condorcet should calculate it, that Hérouet should prepare it, that Rousseau should premeditate it. It is necessary that Danton should dare it. The cry, audacity, is a fiat lux. It is necessary, for the sake of the forward march of the human race, that there should be proud lessons of courage permanently on the heights. Daring deeds dazzle history, and are one of man's great sources of light. The dawn dares when it rises. To attempt, to brave, to persist, to persevere, to be faithful to one's self, to grasp fate bodily, to astound catastrophe by the small amount of fear that it occasions us, now to affront unjust power, again to insult drunken victory, to hold one's position, to stand one's ground, that is the example which nations need, that is the light which electrifies them. The same formidable lightning proceeds from the torch of Prometheus to Cambronne's short pipe. End of Book 1, Chapter 11. Recording by Adam Ringeth.